So one of the first things I do before I paint a body is to cut out the wheel wells. Unlike some people, I actually cut out the wheel wells and I cut out the body from its support structure before I start painting. I find it to be a lot easier to do it that way than to do it afterwards. So, and the way that I cut out perfect wheel wells, circular wheel wells, is I just use this cutter. It's basically a compass, you know, it's got a blade, and I just mark it right here where, you know, I determine the size or the width of the compass, and I just kind of score it along the wheel wells like so. And I've done it already, so you know you can see a score. You don't have to cut all the way through. All you have to do is just score. And so, and then I take you know, the Lexan scissors, and I just cut right through to the edge of the wheel wells, like so. And it's kind of, and I just keep on doing that. And just kind of bend it. So there you have it, perfect circular wheel wells. Stay tuned. Alright, so once you've cut the wheel wells out, like I've done here, the next step is to remove the rest of the extra plastic from the body. And the easiest way that I know how to do it is basically you take a very sharp new blade, and then you score. You score along the area where you want to remove, like so. You don't want to necessarily cut right through, because that's not something that's required. All you need to do is score. And so, and after that, you take your Lexan scissors, just like you did with your wheel wells. You cut up to a score line, and you start breaking it off, like so. And so, here's the first part that's broken off. Alright, so what some people do is that they actually use their Lexan scissors to cut all the way around. That's just your preference, or I mean, for me, I find it to be easier to do it this way, but your mileage may vary. So that's pretty much it. You do the rest of the body in this similar manner, and then that's it. So stay tuned. So after I cut out the excess plastic from the body, what I did was I sanded the bottom and the edges so that it's nice and smooth. You don't really have to do a fantastic job. I mean, what I did was I basically took 100 grit sandpaper and sanded the body. That's pretty much it. It doesn't have to be smooth, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be where the burrs have been smoothed out. So anyway, that's what I did. Of course, I did this offline because I don't think you would be interested in seeing me sand a Lexan body. It's not that exciting. So anyway, next step is to wash the body. Alright, so the next step that I completed off camera is to wash the body. This is a step you do not want to miss. I mean, it's really imperative because when you start filing the body, you're going to have dust particles that need to be washed off, and then most importantly, during the molding process, there is a kind of an oil that is left, a film that is left inside the body for when they need to take the body off the mold. So that film will prevent the paint from adhering properly to the body. So that needs to be washed, and it doesn't have to be super complicated. You just need a sponge and also ordinary dishwashing detergent. This is what I use. I just put a sponge and lathered up the inside and then just washed it with warm water. And then what I did afterwards is to wipe it down with a dishcloth. Again, not complicated. The only thing you got to keep in mind is that you have to make sure that all the water has been dry, especially looking through the nooks and crannies of the body, because inside, there, water droplets could be caught, and so you don't want that to happen, because if you do, then it's not going to adhere properly. The paint is not going to adhere properly to the body. So that's the important part, is to make sure everything's dry. And so I'm going to start applying the window masking next. So stay tuned. Alright, so the next step is to apply the window masking. This is a simple process, but it can be tedious because sometimes you have to cut out the window masking. In this instance, Tamiya was nice enough to pre-cut them. And then so what you do is you remove the mask, and it will be labeled, so you know what side goes on what. And then you just slowly getting a little confused here which side goes what. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, here you go. This is it. Alright, so you slowly I would start on one end. Alright, so you line the window masking and then you kind of gently rub it out. making sure that there's no bubbles or creases or creases. And that's pretty much it. Just keep on doing that for the rest of the body, and I will be back. Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you a couple of things. One is how I have put on the masking for the windows. I mean, there's no magic to it really. I mean, there's no system that I have to make it easy. I mean, I just try to align the masking with the openings as much as possible, and then two, this body color, or this body has two tones. One of them is going to be black, and so what I did is I masked off all the areas that will be black that I'm not going to paint. So same thing in the rear. You know, it's going to be black in the rear. So basically what I'll do is I'm going to paint the body color first, and then take off the masking, and then paint the black. Normally I would do it the reverse, which is paint black first and then paint the lighter body color, but in this situation I'm okay with doing it this way because the backing color is going to be black itself, and so I'm just going to kill two birds with one stone. I mean, if you painted like somebody before, this would make sense to you, but normally if you paint it like somebody, you should paint the darker color first. All right. So anyway, the second part I want to talk about is my mounting system for the body. I use magnetic mounts, and you can see here, because I like to have the body not be disrupted or ruined by, you know, by plastic posts that stick out, and because it looks completely unrealistic. So the plastic mounts, the magnetic mounts, are fairly easy to install. What I did was I basically, you know, just mounted them on the body post, and instead of screwing them on vertically, I screw them on horizontally in this situation. And before I paint the body, what I do is I have to first mark out where the magnets that will be attached to the body will go. Okay, because once you paint the body, it becomes a lot more difficult to do that. So what I did was I just mounted the body, aligned it to the way that I think it should be in terms of the wheelbase and, you know, the situation with the body being left to right. And so basically I align it as perfectly as possible, and then I put on a magnet, okay, to show, and this magnet that I just placed will be glued on to the bottom of the body. So when I place the body onto the chassis, it will all clip in place, and then I mark a spot like here. I put a little red dot where the magnet will go, and I do that for all the magnets. And I usually use 4 magnets. You know, so you can have as many magnets as you please. And so after that, what I do then is I just make a little scratch or mark here, so I know after I painted the body where the magnet should be, and then that's where I actually wind up, you know, gluing the magnet. So that's how I make the body mounts, magnetic body mounts, as easy as possible. And you can see here, you can get a closer look at how it works. So like I said, it makes for a clean design, and that's what I do it. So anyway, stay tuned for the next video, which will be beginning of painting. Alright, so I've begun painting the body. This is the first coat, and this is what your first coat should look like. Nothing too thick. It should really only be like a light mist or a light dusting to kind of you know, start the process. The reason why is because you want the first coat to kind of bond with the masking, so that the subsequent coats don't run into them. So this is, you can see that it's very translucent, and that's the way it should be, and it should not be any thicker than this. In fact, this might be a little too thick, to be honest with you. So the paint I'm using is Tamiya PS60, which is mica red. I'm going to keep with the stock color scheme of red and black, and the one thing you got to be careful about is you got to use PS paint, which is for polycarbonate. You do not want to use any other type of paint. The reason why is because this paint is formulated to stick to bodies, through flex and crashing. If you use any type of paint, even so-called plastic paints, then they will peel, I guarantee you. And I've been through this many times, and I've experimented with many different types of paints, and really the only type of paints that will work is, in all circumstances, is the polycarbonate ones made by Tamiya. There's other companies that make them. I use Tamiya for the most part because they've worked for me in the past, and they've been very, very reliable. And I will show you as this body progresses. Stand by. Alright, so I am done painting the red color, and this is my fourth and final coat that I just applied. Believe it or not, the whole process only took me about half an hour to 45 minutes. The reason why is because polycarbonate paint dries extremely quickly. You can get a coat done in dried in 15 minutes, and if you wanna accelerate the process, you can just use the hairdryer like I do, and use basically, you can just basically blow hot air on it, and it will dry in 1 minute. So I was able to paint 3 or 4 coats in about half an hour. And so the way, polycarbonate paint is slightly translucent, and the way that I can tell if I've got enough paint is if I look through, examine the body through a light, basically put it up to a light, and if you see hot spots, that's one way which you can tell this area needs a little paint. Is you'll see a little bit, it will be translucent, but you'll see spots that are more translucent than others, and then you just apply more paint to the area, and then there you go. So the next step for me is to remove the masking for the black area and then paint the black area. So stay tuned. Alright, so I took off the masking for the black area, and so this is what it should look like right now. This is going to be black. Make sure that you preserve the window masking, and it's also a good idea to press it down so that it stays as tight as possible. And you will see here, if you look closely, that there's a little bit of overspray in this area. So the way that I deal with this is I take a Q-tip and put some rubbing alcohol in it, and then just rub it out, and that will work. That works fine. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you don't really have to mask anymore. So basically now I'm just gonna paint the black without and that's it. Once I remove the blemishes here, of course. So stand by. So I've got my first coat of black paint on, and this is what it's looking like right now. As you can see, I just painted over the entire body. I don't need to do any masking. And because polycarbonate paint is translucent, you have to have a backing coat on it. And so what I did was I started painting the backing coat, which is going to be black for this vehicle, because I wanted to darken the color a little bit. I wanted to make it more of a darker red. So this is the result. It became a little more dark because, like I said, the black paint will do that. The black backing paint will do that. So so there you go. I'm just gonna, basically I just do the same process as before, light coats, and then finishing up with 3 or 4 coats of paint, and then you should be done. All right, so the body is completely painted. As you can see, it's blacked out inside. Like I said, I do this for two reasons. One is to give the body a solid color, because polycarbonate paint is translucent, as you can see here. It looks very solid. All right. And another reason was just for aesthetics. I mean, I just like the inside of it to be black. It just looks weird to me to look inside of a car and it being different colors. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carefully remove the window masking, and I do that by using a hobby knife and slowly finding an edge that you can just lift off. The paint is going to be very thick because there's about I don't know, 5-6 coats on it right now at least. So you just kind of gently pull on it, tug on it. I wouldn't rip it off like a band-aid. And then keep on slowly, surely pull on it. And then here you have it. So that's the first piece to go. Looks pretty good. There's not a lot of paint bleeding. So my technique worked out pretty well today. So the light masking turned out pretty good. Again, there's no bleeding. Pretty much, I'm very pleased with the entire masking process. It's came out really clean. And I don't want to forget about these rear lights right here. I'm going to be installing LED lights for the front and the back, so I want to keep this clear so that I can have the light coming through. All right, so this is what it looks like with all the masking removed. So your body should look like something like this right now. But that's not even the best part, okay? The best part of painting a polycarbonate body is this. So each body comes with a outer overspray protective coat. And what you do is you start peeling it off. again, there's no magic to it. All you do is just find a corner and start peeling. So you should have a body that looks like this now. Super glossy. Super glossy. Very nice. I need to clean out this area here. I think I put a fingerprint or something on it. Actually, I just realized I made a mistake. This is supposed to be flat black, and I should have cut out a masking for the overspray to paint this area black, flat black, but I forgot to do that. In my haste, I just tore the whole thing off, so now I'm gonna have to use masking tape. No big deal, but it would have been easier for me to just have cut off the overspray with the hobby knife instead of using masking tape. So anyway, there you have it. Next step is to apply decals. Alright, so the instructions say to paint the bonnet or hood area flat black. Not paint it flat black, but to apply a dull coat so that this area becomes flat, which makes sense because this is a rally car that drove through Dakar, Africa, and the last thing you want when driving through the desert is a bright, shiny hood that's going to cause a lot of glare, you know, and so you can't see what you're doing. So, so this is what I've done. This is what I've done, and I'm showing you my favorite masking technique, which is to use Saran wrap or plastic wrap, shrink wrap, and you can see how I've done it here. Basically, I apply masking tape around the edge of the area in which I want to mask off, and then I just put Saran wrap around the rest of the area that does not need to be. This Saran wrap is the perfect masking material for a couple of reasons. One, it's easy to apply, it's easy to position, it's easy to move, it's easy to peel, and plus it's clear, so you can see where it's not applied and where it is and where you need to put it, etc., etc. So, anyway, you know, I'm going to spray my dull coat on and see what happens. I'm a little bit hesitant, you know, mostly because I really like, you know, the paint job looks really good so far, and, you know, applying a dull coat will change that, but for the sake of realism, I'm going to do it. Alright, so I finished painting the dull coat, and so this is what it looks like. It looks pretty good, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised and pleased that it didn't screw up my paint job. So now I'm gonna remove everything and see how it turns out. And you can see that this is the reason why I really like plastic wrapping for masking, because it just comes off like that and doesn't leave any residue. Alright, so there you have it. Now painting is 100% complete. It turned out well, and now the only left to do is to add the decals or stickers, and stay tuned. All right, so I'm starting to apply the decals, and so I wanted to give you a tip to apply really large decals like this one. This is basically the rear windshield, and so it's a pretty large piece. It's about 4 inches by 3 inches, and so what I would do in this situation is I would cut it out, cut out the decal, and instead of pulling the whole decal out, okay, because once you pull it off of the backing paper, it becomes a little bit difficult to handle. I mean, it's going to stick all over the place. So what I would just pull up a small area and then fold back the backing paper like so, and then I would position the decal where it needs to go, like here, or I would even pull this back a little bit further. And the reason why you do this is 2 reasons. One is that you know, it's easier to handle while it's on its backing paper, and 2, you're less likely to get your grubby fingerprints on it. So I position this, and then I place it on, and then I see that it's not correct. My placement is not spot on, so I try again. Okay, and so basically there you go. It looks to me like it's more correct, and so now I just kind of slowly peel the paper back, the paper away, and then in the meantime I would try to use my thumb to work out any air bubbles. Okay, so there is a lot of air bubbles on this thing, so I would work out the air bubbles as I'm moving along, so it gets a chance to be pushed out to the edge, and so that it doesn't get trapped inside, because like I said, this is a very large piece of sticker, and then if you get an air bubble trapped inside, you're not going to be able to get it out. Right, it's just not going anywhere without ripping up or poking holes or whatnot to the decal. So it's looking pretty good so far. I mean, this whole area that I've applied the decal to, it's free of bubbles. So, and then you keep on doing that. Alright, so there you have it. This entire 3x4 inch sticker area has been applied and is bubble free. And you do that for the rest of the decals that are large. I'm gonna apply the rest of the decals off camera, because I don't think you want to be watching me stick on stickers for the next couple of hours. So stand by. Another tip I want to share with you is how to apply decals where there is molding. Like for instance, the windowsill here has a little bit of relief to it. You might not be able to see it, but you know there are mold lines around here, and so when you do that, when you're applying a sticker, sometimes you know you have these pockets of air, and the way you can get rid of them is you take a hair dryer, and then you blow. You have the hair dryer about 6 inches away from the decal, and you have it on high heat, and you blow on it gently for maybe about 15 to 30 seconds, no more than 30 seconds. And then when you do that, the vinyl decal will actually melt, and then it will completely conform to the windowsill. So, and you'll have a very neat and very, just conformed and tight appearance to the decals, and it's not going to be, there's not going to be air pockets and that kind of stuff on it. So that's another trick that you can use to make sure that your decals look as nice as possible. Alright, so this is going to be the last video in the painting series, and it's really just to show you what the results should be when you're completed. As you can see, I applied most of the stickers, actually all the stickers, looks pretty good. I mean, I really like this rally look. I always have, as opposed to just a plain car body. And so I'm going to show you the magnetic mounting system, and basically, as you see, the magnets are mounted on the these body posts, and they're screwed onto the shock towers directly, front and back. And then also I place these magnets on the inside of the body, and I use glue. I use super glue, and also then I taped over it with aluminum tape, so it does not come off. And then I installed the light buckets for this kit. I did that offline because I figured you can figure it out yourself. And then I started doing the LED lights. I mean, basically these have been installed, and I just need to connect them to a servo plug so I can plug it into the receiver. All right, and so you can see here the LED lights have been installed. And then I actually the kit did come with these lights, these rally lights, and I was debating whether or not I should install them because they actually, they mess up the lines of the car, but I wanted doing it, and actually I like it. Creates a three-dimensional appearance to the vehicle, which is always appreciated in a Lexan body. And then it also comes with bumpers. The only thing about the bumpers I don't like is that they're not straight. Because the flex of the body causes them to flex as well. But what can I do? So these are the rear lights, and even though I apply the sticker, when I turn on the lights, they will show through, and actually they look really good. And then as you can see here, using my technique for blow drying the sticker, it really conforms. All right, so you can see that it conforms, and it looks very three-dimensional because it molds to the shape of the window sill. Just be careful, again, not to overdo it, because you will melt the sticker if you hold it for too long or your heat is too high. So basically that's it. So this is the Tamiya Datsun 240Z rally car mounted on a Tamiya XV01 body. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, I really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up, and also a subscription. Hit the subscribe button. It helps me because it motivates me to continue doing what I'm doing, which is sharing the love of the hobby with everyone else in the world.